in terms of this bill, Mr. President, we are going to develop the different artistic talent of students, particularly located in Baguio, Mr. President. And we did not limit the scope of the what art is composed of, Mr. President. So it can be visual arts, it can be traditional arts, and traditional arts, it can be creative arts, Mr. President. So we didn't limit the scope of the art component, Mr. President.
Because the school wants to attract learners with considerable potential in the arts.
Yes, Mr. President.
Is there any other law which gives us an idea of the scope of the word arts or the arts, Mr. President?
In our technical working group and in public hearings, they didn't want to limit.
Singing, dancing, is oratory?
Yes,
also
Mr.
it,
President.
Mr. President?
That's
Oratory, painting, composition,
Mr. President,
music? Composition?
I'll give you a sample of the curriculum on slide 52, Mr. President. This is a sample for creative writing in the Philippine High School for Arts. For example, poetry, creative nonfiction, journalism, playwright, graphic literature. I'll flash it on the screen, Mr. President. So these are the sample for grades 7 to 10 in terms of creative writing, Mr. President. So these are...
So yung details na yan, we'll just look for it in a DepEd, DepEd circular, Mr. President?
Well, in the crafting of the curriculum, Mr. President, this skills will be present there, Mr. President. These skills will be present in the curriculum, Mr. President. Anong DepEd order governs itong specialty schools?
It's the same. It's the same, sir.
In terms of
Sige, and then yung sports naman, ganito din po yung... sa sports naman po, ang pagkasulat din ay we want the bill will attract learners with considerable potential in sports. Okay, so siguro mas ano tong sports, Mr. President, physical education and sports, parang mas klaro. We have a more we have a clearer idea of what sports are, Mr. President. Pero what the arts are, yan ang problema. So sa Baguio City High School for the Arts, they want orators. Okay po yun?
Yes, Mr. President. Correct, Mr. President. So I'll give you some more examples, Mr. President. For example, in music, Mr. President. Well, in slide 53, a sample curriculum in music. Vocal ensemble music, chorus class, applied music. These are the skills that will be taught to the students, Mr. President. This is for grade 7 to grade 10.
Sige pa, okay. We wish the high school success, Mr. President. Ngayon ang tanong, Mr. President, marami na bang high school for the arts established by law, Mr. President?
Yes, Mr. President, there are 11 established by law, Mr. President.
How about high school? How about sports high school, Mr. President?
None yet, Mr. President, for sports high schools. These are the schools, Mr. President, art schools established by law, Mr. President. 11 of them, flash on the screen.
Sige po. Hindi naman po makakahon ng graduates natin dito. Like for example, yung sa sports na magiging yung high school natin are kasi meron kasing anong tawag mo doon?
Hindi nga ang tatanong.
Sige po. Ang concern ko na lang po, one final concern din po ni Senator Mig Subiri, hindi ba makakahon yung estudyante natin na pang sports lang siya kung graduate siya ng sports high school? Parang,
Well, Mr. President, the most important here is the screening of the student, Mr. President. The screening of the student. It's the same with the National Academy for Sports. If the student has potential in sports or potential in the arts, then that student will be enrolled in this facility, Mr. President. So it's the potential of the student. And once the student is in the high school, Mr. President, they will have a special curriculum, obviously more inclined in sports. A typical curriculum that I saw in the National Academy for Sports, they're trained in the morning because athletes are much stronger apparently in the morning. And they have their general subjects in the afternoon, Mr. President. So they train for about probably about 3 to 4 hours. And the training also is it's not an ordinary training. It's scientific-based training, and the training also includes calisthenics, a lot of the scientific-based training, Mr. President.
and during the committee hearing, Mr. President, the DepEd was there.
Yes, Mr. President.
I'm sure meron silang DepEd order or circulars, and they have found the two schools, the two bills compliant with their circular.
Yes, Mr. President.
What did we use, Mr. President, as the standard?
DO 40, Mr. President.
40 pa rin, Mr. President. Sige, Mr. President, I think we would like to congratulate the sponsor for, and the author, Congressman, no? The author is
The
Congressman
proponent, Mr. President, is Congressman Mark
Mark
Go,
of
Mr.
Baguio.
President,
So
of Baguio City.
we'd like to congratulate him for his original thinking, especially as far as the sports high school is concerned. This will be the first first sports high school to be created by law. This one.
Correct,
Right,
Mr. President.
right. So, thank you, Mr. President. Thank you to our...
Thank you,
to our-
Senator Minority Leader and Senator Gatchalian.
Mr. President, may I just be allowed to just ask one question, Mr.
Senator
President?
Villanueva is recognized.
May I know from the good sponsor if the sponsor is aware of Baguio City School of Arts and Trades, Mr. President? I'm just wondering if there's a duplicity on this particular measure that we are about to pass. Because I've been very involved and active in the improvement of our Baguio City School of Arts and Trades, Mr. President. This is a TESDA technical institution that is being supervised by the Technical Education Skills Development Authority. May we know, Mr. President? Because that's the only question that I'd like to raise. If there are duplicity or were they able to give their position on this particular measure, Mr. President?
Okay. Mr. President, based on our information, that's a TVET school, Mr. President. So that's offered after high school, Mr. President. So it's offered to the public, and it doesn't offer senior high school and high school courses, Mr.
You mean, Mr. President, the high school, the bill that we're tackling right now will not cover the implementation of senior high school?
This will cover senior high school,
Because
Mr.
if they
President.
will cover senior high school, there is a tech voc track, Mr. President. In fact, in this morning's committee hearing with the DepEd, 29 to 30% of our senior high school would take the TVL track. And so if that is the case, that is a duplicity, Mr. President. So I'm just trying to put on the table, Mr. President, what's been going on, because Baguio City School of Arts and Trades been around for, if I'm not mistaken, more than 30, 40 years now, Mr. President. And how are we going to ensure, Mr. President, that this is not a duplicity of work? I am a believer, Mr. President, of convergence, and so if there is also a a provision in the law or the bill that we are deliberating upon, Mr. President, that they will be able to converge or at least tap the BC SAT for the implementation of TVL, then I will have no problems with that, Mr. President.
Yeah, Mr. President, the Baguio City School for Arts and Trade is a Tech Voc school, Mr. President. It doesn't offer senior high school. It offers Tech Voc courses to anyone who's inclined to take Tech Voc. The intersection there will be senior high schools typically offer 4 tracks, no? Sports, arts, academic, and TVL. But for the arts school and for the sports school, the track will be obviously sports and the track will be obviously arts. So that will be the difference, Mr. President. But the Baguio City School for Trade, Arts and Trade is a Tech Voc school, Mr. President. So that's the difference.
Perhaps, Mr. President, not to belabor the point, and I know everyone wants to finish this measure, and I am supportive of it. Perhaps the intention of the law is to just implement the basic education in high school. However,
Correct.
Mr. President, there's K-12 because they will also be implementing Tech Voc programs. I am just having some reservations, Mr. President, because definitely they would be offering the same courses in as so far as the Tech Voc track, the TVL track is concerned. I just hope that they can make sure that they will work together hand in hand, Mr. President. Thank you, Mr. President.
Well, Mr.
That's all.
President, since this is a sports school, their track will be sports, and the art school, their track will be arts. That's also the same in the National Academy of Sports because that's a senior high school. So their track there is the sports track, Mr. President. So wala silang TVL. In short, wala silang TVL, Mr. President.